Hey, welcome. This is a tutorial for how to set up the 1T Dropdown plugin element. The first thing you want to do, obviously, is you're going to want to install the plugin, and you can go to the plugin page, just search 1T-Dropdown in the Bubble Plugins directory, or however you chase them down, and in the we have a link here in the plugin page to this page here. That's a just kind of quick demo of what the plugin can do. I'll show you here. We're really just demonstrating three different ways of setting it up. The first one is just a basic drop down. Requires requires an option to be selected. You can't deselect it, and it actually removes the selected option from the drop down. The second one here is what's called option groups, and so it allows you to group items within parent groupings. So I have a list of characters here, and you can see that they're grouped under different types of characters, right? So Pinocchio's under cartoon, Robin Williams under person, Merlin the Magician's under wizard. And so it's a nice way to be able to present your data in the dropdown in a way that's meaningful and easy to parse, for your end users. And then the third demonstration here is simply how you can set up really anything you want using HTML. So you can design what it looks like inside your dropdown using your own custom HTML. So you can see here, this is just a list of users. It's got an image, the name, the email, and I'll show you exactly how to set this up. You select it, and then it shows that way in the actual dropdown as well. So I have a link here on this demo page. You click View Documentation, and that will open up this Git book that goes through all the main steps of installing, setting up this plugin. You can see we have the model for the JSON model for setting up your options, and we're going to go through that. If you haven't really used JSON, if you use CSV Creator, my CSV Creator plugin, you're probably very used to this. But I like to go with the using JSON, allowing you as the Bubble dev to use JSON to build your options, for the main reason that it gives you a lot more flexibility and a lot more power to do what you want. The plugin is built in a way, it's built on top of the Slim Select JS library. So if you are an advanced user, if you understand a little bit about JavaScript, or you're very comfortable constructing JSON, you really have a lot of options. You can do pretty much anything that library allows you to do, and we'll jump into that in a little bit. But it really just gives a ton of flexibility for anything from just needing a standard list of options in a dropdown to adding searches, designing exactly what those options look like, requiring doing mandatory options, the ability to add new options. Really, there's almost there's a lot that can be done because of using JSON, allowing you to set up the JSON for it. So it's a little more complex than just doing a search for and grabbing a list of names or something like that. But I think if you dive in and you start playing around, it's less complex than it feels initially, because it's a very simple setup for what's actually required for the basic part of the plugin. But then if you want to play with it and get into it and have a lot of fun, there's nothing holding you back. So anyway, we show your basic setup here with the JSON, which we just require a text and a value. And then all the way down here in the bottom, and I want to expand this probably at some point, but we have the actual HTML that that we're using to create that that user, that person drop down here, right, with the image and everything. So, and if you haven't noticed, this element is aware of where the bottom of the page is. And so you can see that with it being as close to the bottom of my screen as it is, it's automatically showing the drop down element above the input. So you click on it and it shows above. But if we scroll up and we click on it, now it's going to show it below. And so it's aware if it's too close to the bottom of the page, and if it would show that drop down underneath the input element, then and it would scroll off the edge of the screen, it'll show it above. So kind of a neat feature there. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive in, and we will look at how to set up all three of these drop downs here. So by the way, so you can just click view this page in the editor, and this will actually open up the editor for those drop downs that are displayed, and you can play around in there and see how I've got it set up. So all right, we're going to move on over to this other editor and go ahead and start playing around. So we're going to plugins. I've already installed it. It's 1t-dropdown, and lots of details here, but we'll just look at what's actually included with the plugin. So it comes with one element. It's just called 1t-dropdown. It comes with 2 events on that element. So we're going to fire an event when a selection is updated. That's whether it's selected or deselected. Anytime a change happens to a selection in the dropdown, that event will fire. And then we have an event called add new option is clipped. So there's a property on the editor that you can say, I want to include a plus icon. So if a user is searching for an option and it's not there, they can click that plus icon. It's going to trigger that event, and then you can build your own flow however you want to, maybe with show it in a pop-up. But we expose the text that they have searched for and that event, so you can create a new option, add it to your database, set the selection, and all that. And then so actions here is the set a selected value on a 1t dropdown element. And that's just in case you would want to manually or need to manually actually set what the selected value should be on a specific element. Okay, I don't want to get too complex here. I want to go through this and really show you how to set this up. So we'll go back into the design screen and we'll open up the documentation here. So installation is just saying this is how you go ahead and install the plugin into your editor. So adding the element, we're going to go ahead and pop it onto the page. So let's go back in our editor. The element is actually here under input forms. So just grab that and click it right there. And let's center this and let's give it a just give it a 50 top margin so that it's down inside of the page. So we'll just go through these. We'll just go through these properties or these options on the property editor one by one. So input is disabled. This is a dynamic field. You can set it here. So you could say, whatever it might be. You can put your condition here. Let's just say you're checking if the user is logged in or not. So we could say current user is logged in or is logged out. So we'd say if they're logged out, the input's disabled. If they're logged in, the input is not disabled. It defaults to no, which means it's an active element. But you could also do it with a condition here and set that value then. Placeholder. So this is important. It's an optional field, but if you don't have a placeholder set, the element's going to, and there's no default value selected, the dropdown is going to automatically select the first item in your options. So you do need to add a placeholder if you want the dropdown to be able to be empty. And it really depends. So like if we look at this right here, right? So this is a drop down that's really never going to be empty. We're going to have a default value on it, and so it doesn't need a placeholder. But then these other two, I want them to be able to deselect the person. So if I want them to be able to deselect the person, I need to have a placeholder there. Otherwise, that action would just select the first element or the first option in that list. Default value. So default value, it really depends what kind of data you're working with. The plugin will work with anything from text to option sets to data types. So if you are, and I've got this detailed here in the documentation, if you are you want to return a data type. So if we look here, I have a character data type. So let's say that I want to return a character. Then I would need to set the unique ID of the character, of the default character, right? So let's imagine, Merlin the Magician is what's going to be the default character. This would be the unique ID of the Merlin the Magician record. If you're doing an option set, so we have like yes, no, maybe, and that's just an option set here. That includes yes, no, and maybe options, right? So very aptly named. But if we're going to use option sets, so we want to return an actual option from an option set, Bubble uses the display field as the identifier on option sets. So we would need to put the display value for the option set that should be the default value. Okay, we're going to move on into options. It comes pre-selected, and in fact, if we set this as text, right? Let's just go ahead. We're just going to preview this. But it comes pre-selected with an array of JSON objects. And we'll jump right into what that is in just a second. We'll let this load. The internet's been just crashing on me all day. You can see it's already, so it's working, right? So we have value 1, value 2. Value 2 is, you can see we have value 2 ID set as the default value. We can select value 1, select value 2. But if I deselect value 2, I don't have it set, so we can deselect it. But it has a search box and all that. And if we actually set this and allow, so here's an option that allows the user to deselect an option. By default, it is off. You can turn it on. And if we refresh now, by clicking value 2, it'll deselect value 2, but because we don't have a placeholder set, it's going to automatically select value 1 because it has to have some kind of some options selected, either a placeholder, which wouldn't actually return any data, or the first value in the option set. So there you go. If we select value 2, we deselect value 2, it's going to automatically select value 1 in that list. Okay, but the options, so, and this is what this is what the basic JSON object is going to have to look like. And if we go into our documentation in Gitbook, so you can see, it goes through here in good detail. Set the return data type, or the type of data you want to expose in the selected option state. And then, so like for dynamic data, we're going to do a search for it. So if we want to return characters, a data type, we're going to do a search for characters. If we're returning an option set, we're going to get all option sets. If we're just returning text, you can just put static JSON text right in there. And in fact, you can do that even with option sets or with elements, that are based on data you have in your database, if you want it to load quicker. So anytime you have a search, right, Bubble's gonna do the search in your plugin element after the page is loaded. So there's going to be some kind of really short delay while the plugin then is getting that data and processing that data. So if you want it just to, be instantly available, you can generate, however you want to do it, set up on dummy page. You can generate JSON for your list of data, and it'll still return the right data, the right records from your database, but it'll be static text in there. And so, really the difference between the static text would be what we have here, right? So we just have text that has values in it. There's no search being done, versus actually doing a search and you using the format as text and building out a list of JSON objects like that. So, yeah. So but the basic object just requires a text and it requires a value key in your JSON object. So you can see exactly what's set up here in this object. Text is going to be the value that is displayed in the drop-down options. Value is what is used as the ID. So if you're just using a list of text, you can actually get rid of the value key. The plugin will use the text field as the ID as well. But if you're doing you're getting a data type, right? So you're going to want to have your unique ID as the value, and then maybe full name as your text. So you can show the full name in the drop down, so it's something that your user can relate to and can understand what it is. But when they click on it, you want the plugin to send the unique ID back to Bubble as the selected option. All right, and this, it says, there's tons of other options if you feel adventurous. Slim Select, I'll just click here. SlimSelectJS.com. There's tons of options here. You can see fields, data types. Here's all the options as far as like building this out, and really creating whatever it is that you want to create. All right, so if we dive back in, let's go ahead and keep moving down here, and we'll go through the rest of these properties. So user can add new options. If you select that will give it a little plus button beside the search bar. Hide selected option. That's going to hide if you select an option. It'll hide that option from the list of available options to select from. In fact, let's just click both of those. It will say disable the ability to search values. That just removes the search box. So we'll refresh this, and we'll have the search box missing. But so you can see we got value 1, value 2 is selected, value 1 is the only one left. So if we select value 1, now value 2 will be available, but because value 1 is selected. So it's just removing whatever is the currently selected option from the list of available options. And let's see. So a couple of these actually offset each other. If we remove the search box, that also removes the plus icon. So let's go ahead and put that search box back in and refresh. All right, now you can see. So we have a little plus icon here, and let's just say we search for value 3, right? So it says no results. So the user could then click this plus icon. And let's go ahead and do this. Let's add an event. So this is going to be under elements. 1T drop down, add new option is clicked. And you know what? I haven't added a toast element. Let's do toast. I'll install this one. And so here, so when this event fires, we have a state on the option set, and I'll show you right here, or it's not on the option, on the drop down. We'll say this 1T drop down's search term, right? So search term is the value that they searched for in this search box. So we're just gonna do a little alert with the value that was searched, and demonstrate this. So if we hit refresh, all right, and now we're going to search for value 3, which does not exist. If we hit this plus icon, you can see it's saying oh, I did selected option, didn't I? Let's do search term. I was like, something is not working right there. Let's refresh this. Type in value 3 again. Hit the plus icon. Now you can see here's the search term that we searched for, value 3, and that event fired off. So now in here you can perform whatever action you want. Show a pop-up, just add that item if you want, and put it into, rebuild that list of JSON that you're displaying in the dropdown. Then you would have the option to also set the selected value on that dropdown as well. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm gonna keep kind of go through this. I don't want this video to get too long, but I want to go through all the options, and we may have to move into another video to actually kind of build out some of the functionality. But the empty state. So again, let's just show you if we search, just say yes. So it says no results. That can be set right here, and this this field will take HTML as well. So you can build out. You really don't have to use, if you want to allow users to add an option. You wouldn't have to use the plugins built-in functionality. You could, put a little HTML in here and add a button. But it's, we just say div, and we'll just say style. Let's see, font size 20 pixels. All right, let's just do something that's very obvious. And we'll say we couldn't find that result or that search, and then we'll shut it down. Right. So if we refresh now, this is just a very very simple illustration of what can be done. You can see there we go. We've got an HTML element rendered there. We could even give this, just say background color is red. My eyes are getting old, I think. I'm having a hard time reading that. Maybe I just need new glasses. All right, so let's do this again. And there we go. So now we have a red background. Anyway, play around. There's tons of options. I'll come out with some kind of basic HTML structures that you can put in there, but you could put a click event on there and trigger a from the toolbox plugin. Install the toolbox plugin, trigger a JS to bubble event, and use that to actually trigger the add new element. Obviously that's more of an advanced feature, but just kind of want to go through kind of the thought process and why some of the things are set up how they are, and what you can do with it if you want to. I really didn't want to constrain anyone. I want to make it simple enough that even beginners could use it, but open-ended enough that if you have the skill set and you're advanced enough, there's nothing really holding you back from building it exactly how you want. So, all right, that's a terrible HTML view. So we'll just say no results. Search placeholder. Okay, so search. This works. This is really designed because you probably want your search placeholder to say something besides just search. So we're gonna go ahead and build this out, and we're going to use characters. And so we'll probably just change this search placeholder, and we'll say search characters. Just makes it more applicable to that specific data type. Refresh. Now it says search characters, right? Okay, so let's actually get in. Let's build something. and see what we can make happen here. So in here, we want to leave, let's go ahead, I'm just going to delete everything here. Let's put square brackets back. Make sure you have square brackets around it because we need that array of JSON objects. And then we're going to put our cursor right in the middle, insert dynamic data, and say do a search for, and our search is going to be for characters, because this is, we have characters, and then we have a list of characters here. All right, so we're going to do a search for characters, and now just like we have each item's name, right? So if we do each item's name, it's going to give us a list of the name from each character. We can do this, we can use this format as text, which gives us it does the same thing. It goes through each item, but inside that, for each item, we can then build, because now we have this input that we can reference data from that particular record that's being iterated over, right? So first thing we want to do, delimiter is a comma, and then just drop back over here to the documentation and just copy this object. This is probably the easiest way to do it. We'll jump back into our editor. Let's do that. And I don't know, this is odd. This input is now shorter, so I don't like it. I prefer it to be like it was full width. So this looks a little bit odd here, but anyway, it still works. So under text, again, text is going to be the value that's displayed in the dropdown here. So it's going to be what we show here. And then ID is going to be the ID of the record, the unique ID, and for the record in Bubbles database. So let's just grab this, and we're going to remove everything, including the double quotations. And we're going to say this character's name. And then we're going to use format as JSON safe. That just makes sure that if there's any characters that could break the JSON, they'll be what's called escaped, which means you get a slash in front of it, and so the code knows to process it differently and how to process those characters, and it won't break your JSON. What you're gonna, if you have some of those characters, you're gonna get is a unidentified character in line 51 or something. So I have people reach out with those errors all the time on CSV Creator. So I want to build, or I want to create some more training around that in particular, because I think it's kind of a missing piece in the no-code world. It's just something you don't really have to understand generally, but it's super useful. And just to break it down to simple thing, just use the format as JSON safe. It'll add the double quotes. You don't need the double quotes on those values, and it solves a lot of problems. So that's probably all I should have said anyway. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to get rid of all that, and we're going to say this character's, and then we'll go all the way down, unique ID. Okay, so that should be all we need there. We're going to go ahead and get rid of the default value, and we're going to say select a character in our placeholder, because we don't want to select one automatically, and we're going to change this return data type to character. And so let's actually drop the text element here. We'll put it in the middle, and we're going to give this we're going to say 1T dropdown A's selected option. Okay, so now you can see in this selected option, because we selected in the dropdown, we select a character, which is our data type here. Now in this selected option, we have access to all the all the parameters, all the fields in that data type. I'm just going to say name. That's going to be the easiest way to identify that we selected the right one. In fact, I'm going to push it to the top. Give it some top margin just so we can see it without the drop down covering it. Uh-oh. Let's see what's going on. Ah, saved. Perfect. Okay, so let's open this up. And if we click in here, we have no results. What happened? We have, let's see. It says unexpected. All right, I did something bad. Let's see, unexpected, comma, or curly brace after property value. What did I do? In this format, oh, so I didn't actually format. This is JSON safe. Don't do that. Okay, so the unique ID was in there as a text. It was breaking the JSON. It wasn't able to work properly. Okay, so let's do this again. Let's just refresh. Is my internet breaking? I think I mentioned my internet's been really bad today. I tried to do this video earlier and just couldn't get it done. Right. Or waiting. Yeah, I've got internet problems. All right, that's saved. Looks like it's back again. All right, so let's refresh this. Okay, so now we can say that, see, the placeholder says select a character. It looks like we've processed and created the element correctly. And if we select it, now we have all these characters here inside the drop down. If we select Alice in Wonderland, let's see, we're selected there. Alexander the Great is selected, but we are, and we can searches anywhere in the value. You don't have to. It's not like you don't have to start with. If we're searching for Pinocchio, we don't have to start with P. You know, we can. OCH is still going to pull Pinocchio. But it's also removing the selected option from the list. So let's change that. Generally, I don't think that's what we're going to want, but we will. Oh dear. The red saving text. Let's try this again. All right, I'm going to pause the video for just a second and see if I can get my internet working better. Okay, so it looks like I got my internet working. I'm going to try to keep on with this, see if it works. We've got, yeah, so now we can select, you know, Alice in Wonderland. We can click on Alice in Wonderland to deselect her again. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it's very simple. As far as setting up, you know, your basic drop-down. If we wanted to actually go ahead and create an option group, so we could look here in the Slim Select documentation. You'll see, you know, option group. I'm not sure if I put this. I didn't put anything with this here, but an option group, essentially, we're going to have a label and then a list of options. And so if we want to build that, let's go ahead and build that now. this here will change a bit. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to search for characters, right? And then let's group them. And you can do this different ways. So we can manually, right, just set up all our option sets, or all our groupings. And in fact, I kind of like that idea better, I think. Let's just jump in here to the JSON lint, and let's build that. So we're just going to do an array, and it's going to be let's just copy this from here. So we're going to grab this object, and where are we at here? Okay, let's paste it. And I don't want these, but this is where some of the the really powerful stuff is. You can make so it's closable, so that users can close and open specific groups, and where they can select all the options inside a group at once. But we don't want that right now, so let's just do a looks like we missed the little curly brace on the beginning here. And let's look and see what do we have in our database. We have philosopher, leader, magician, fairy tale. All right, perfect. So we'll just say philosopher. And that looks like I was spelling that wrong, but I don't know if that's accurate. So let's actually give this label. So that was a JavaScript object. We want to make this JSON. And let's just validate that. That's wrong. Oh, this needs to be double quotes here on the value. Perfect. Okay. So I'm just going to copy this now, and we'll say we have 4 option groups, and let's just check those again. So philosopher, leader, magician, fairy tale. Okay. Philosopher, leader, magician, fairy tale. Let's say leader, magician, and fairy tale. Okay, perfect. So let's just copy this now. Well, let's validate it first. Make sure we've got valid JSON. Perfect. Let's just copy this over, and we'll drop this into our input here. But before I do that, let me just I want to get my there we go. I want to copy this expression. All right, then we're going to clear this. Let's paste this in, and then inside each option, we're going to paste that same thing back in. So essentially what we want to do, right, is we're building kind of this nested JSON. So now instead of the first object that what we had here, and it was just showing options in at a single level, we're building 2 levels. We're building the first level is going to be what we're calling our option group. It's going to have a label. In our case, philosopher, leader, magician, fairy tale. Those are the 4 different groups. And then inside each of those, we want to display the characters only the characters that belong to that group. So let's do this. So in philosopher, we're going to search for characters, and we're going to say type equals. We'll just say philosopher. Boy, that feels really wrong. Anyway, the format as text is we already set that up previously. And since we just copied that from that previous setup, we know that should work. So we're going to drop this in here. Let's just do this 3 more times, or 2 more times now. Paste. Paste. All right, and then here we'll search for fairy tale. we'll search for magician. And then here we will search for leader, right? So just to break it down again, we have, a list of option groups, and inside each of those groups, we're doing a search for the data that should show up inside that group, formatting that in that text value way that we had set it up earlier, and that will put those options inside that group. So let's refresh our page. And now we can see, so we have philosopher, Socrates, Plato, leader, Alexander the Great, magician, and then fairy tale. But, so this isn't very pretty. What we can do now is we can actually go down here and we have, so option group, font color, option group, padding. By the way, fonts work. So by default, fonts will take on whatever you set here inside the font settings. But let's go up here. So option, we have option padding here. And so I'm just going to give this, and this uses standard CSS shorthand. You can do, if you have one value, so 5 pixels is going to be 5 pixels all the way around. 2, the first, if we have 5 pixels and let's say, let's just do 15 pixels. Like this will give 5 pixels top and bottom, 15 pixels left and right. And so that goes, that shorthand works if you're familiar with CSS. And so now let's refresh this. And so you can see it takes just a little bit to kind of, do those searches and pull it. So if you can create that data statically and like just put it into the input as text, that's fantastic. It'll load faster. Otherwise, this does work just fine. But now, as you can see, we added 15 pixels of padding to the left, and so now we have a bit more of a hierarchy here. We have philosopher, and then those options, and then this works exactly the same. So you can just select, and you can search, all the options just like we did previously. Okay. And let's do one more, and I'm going to grab another plugin. It's going to be the Frames Utilities plugin. Let's just install that. I just want access to the users. So let's set up that HTML. So I'm going to just get rid of this, and let's grab another Dropdown. It wasn't actually necessary to get rid of it. Let's keep it there. And let's just copy what's inside here. That makes it easy. We're going to clear this out again. And we'll give 2 curly braces. And so now we're going to actually we're going to actually use the get data from external API. The Frames utility plugin we just installed has all these data calls. You can get dummy data and use it. So we're just going to use the user data. Let's do get data from external API. We'll do frames user, and then we're going to format this as a text, and we're going to paste this back in. So this is that same object with just a text and a value parameter at this point. So let's do this user's frames. We're going to grab name, and this user's, I guess we'll just return the name. We're not actually returning. So generally, you'd return a unique ID or something that's identifiable. But right now, we're going to change this actually to text. We're just going to return a text here, and we'll say select a user. We're going to add. Let's just do a comma. We'll do a line break, and then HTML colon, and then we're going to do insert dynamic expression set that to arbitrary text. We'll close out of that, and then we're going to format that as JSON safe. Okay, perfect. Now what we want to do, just go into the documentation, scroll all the way to the bottom, and grab, or you can just copy it, just grab this HTML code that I have in the documentation. And so here in HTML, we're going to go into the arbitrary text, and we're just going to paste this right here. And now we need to change out, so let's change out our source image, and that's going to be this user frame's image. And then we'll do, so everything that needs to be changed is inside these double curly braces. So person's name, we'll select that, and we'll say this user frame's name, and then let's grab the email. Let's say email. Okay. Perfect. So we still have text, we have values. Value is going to be what's returned when that option is selected, and then HTML is it's just saying use this HTML to format. Get rid of all the other formatting. We want the options to look like this. We want it to look like this when it's selected. And so let's see. Let's actually change this now. Selected option. Oh, we'll just make it's just a text, so it's just going to be selected option. Will return that text. We'll refresh this page. And something didn't go right. What do we do here? Right. Unexpected, comma, or bracket. Okay, let's see what happened. All right, so frames, user format as text. Oh, we never put a delimiter in here. So we need to make sure we have that comma in the delimiter, so that separates all the objects within that array. Let's refresh this again. All right, so it says select a user, and there we go. So now we have this really cool HTML view of our data. But you can see it's pushing everything around a bit. So let's just go down here and let's change our option padding. Let's just change this to 0. Because we want to manage that with our HTML. We don't want to manage that any longer with the plugin functionality. So if we refresh this, okay. So maybe we want to add a little padding back. We could do that in the HTML. And in fact, that might be something I should add to it. Let me dive in. Where are we at? Yeah, let's just put it right here. We'll just put it right in line. Just say padding 5 pixels. And let's try this again. Perfect. Much better. But you select, and you'll want to play around with the size of your element. I've got this one set at 40, and it's fixed. Let's just say 50. Uh-oh. We're saving slowly. And I'll be back as soon as I have this working again. As soon as I have the internet. Okay, I'm back. Pop back just as soon as I pause the video. But we'll reload this. Let's see if this will reload properly. Okay, perfect. So select the user. We have our users, and there we go. That looks right. Um, it's cut off a little bit on the right, but again, we have it set to a fixed width of 200 right now. You can set that however fits your branding, fits your app, fits your UI. It's the idea is make this look as close to what you really would like it to look like. Get rid of these old, unusable, select drop-down menus where it's just huge lists that you're scrolling and scrolling, and they don't look nice. This is still searchable, so searching Beth Harrison, Rebecca, Carl. Yeah, and hopefully that's helpful. I really hope that this element is really useful. Please send me feedback. Let me know if you have any issues, if you have any suggestions, anything that could make this better, make this more powerful. Do plan on adding multi-select in the next release. It's not in the first one, and I'm not sure if that will be a separate element or just some changes to this element. But yeah, if you have opinions on that, that's great. So, cheers, have fun.